Hey everybody, John Skiba here from the Consumer Warrior YouTube channel. And in this video, I'm going to share with you the 5 worst, scariest things about filing a Chapter 7 bankruptcy. If this is your first time here to my YouTube channel, please click subscribe, check on that little bell. That way you'll be notified each and every week when I put out numerous videos that'll help you deal with your serious debt issues. All right, I did another video recently talking about the 5 great things or 5 positive things about filing for bankruptcy. So in fairness, I thought I would share with you the 5 worst things about filing a Chapter 7 bankruptcy. Maybe some of these things are things that are giving you some anxiety or stress. I want to share them and kind of how we can work around some of these issues as well. I am a bankruptcy attorney in the state of Arizona. My contact information is below. If you're from Arizona, I'd be happy to do a consultation. I don't charge anything for it, where we can go over your situation. Let's jump into those 5 scary things about a Chapter 7 bankruptcy. Now, the number one thing that can be scary or kind of the worst when it comes to Chapter 7 is it is possible that you may lose some assets when you go through the Chapter 7 bankruptcy process. The idea behind a Chapter 7 is it's going to get rid of all of your unsecured debts, credit cards, medical bills, personal loans. For the most part, those are going to go away completely. They're eliminated, they're discharged. However, the trade-off is that the court is going to look and see, do you have any assets that you currently own that can be sold with the proceeds going to your creditors? So essentially they wipe out the debts, they see if there's anything that can be sold, and then they make a distribution to your creditors, and then any balance that's still left over at that point, they would discharge or it would be eliminated. So I get that that's a scary thing, that you don't want to lose anything as you go through this. I can tell you in most cases, statistics I saw is over 95% of people that file Chapter 7 bankruptcy don't lose anything. And that's because of these laws that in each and every state, and even the federal law, has certain exemptions. Most people have heard of like the homestead exemption that protects equity in your home. In Arizona, there's exemptions for cars and household goods, bank accounts, retirement accounts, those kinds of things. So in most situations, people don't lose anything to go through this process. But it is definitely important that you talk to a bankruptcy attorney before you jump into a bankruptcy to determine if there is a situation where you could lose some assets as you go through this process. The exemptions are different from each state, and there's some complicated issues surrounding them, particularly if you've recently moved in the last couple of years from a different state. And so that's something you need to meet with a bankruptcy attorney. Again, I'm in the state of Arizona, and we kind of go through all that, applied the Arizona exemptions to it to see if you're going to lose anything. In most situations, people don't, but it's definitely a possibility if you're looking to file a Chapter 7 bankruptcy. All right, the second thing that is the absolute worst, and truthfully, this is the worst for your bankruptcy attorney as well. And that is, it is a little bit of a tedious process. And by a little bit, I mean it's a lot. It's tedious. And the reason is they require a huge amount of information. The typical Chapter 7 bankruptcy filing is about 100 pages that the attorney has to draft, that has everything from not only, just regular contact information, name, address, social security number, but we're also dealing with real estate, with all of your personal property assets, income, monthly expenses. We go through your budget. We've got to disclose certain financial transactions. And so we have to request a lot of documentation of clients. In my office, we request at least 7 months of bank statements from every single account, 7 months of pay stubs, the last 2 years of tax returns. And we gather all this information so that we can draft the documents and disclose everything appropriately. Now, this gets to be super tedious. Sometimes the trustees are wanting explanations and receipts and all this. You've got to be prepared mentally to go through this and do what's required of you. The more thorough you are in your job in gathering the information and the documents that your attorney is requesting, the more smooth your bankruptcy case is going to go and the quicker it'll be discharged. You'll also reduce the risks of some kind of surprise. I can tell you there's nothing more scary as a bankruptcy attorney than when you get to your meeting with the bankruptcy trustee and you hear about an asset for the first time or a financial transaction for the first time. I know attorneys like myself, we try to do everything we can to be thorough, to gather all that information. So if there's anything you even have a question about or concern about, it's best to just bring it up right before the case is even filed so that your attorney can help you to put together a plan as far as how to help your case move along without problems and very smoothly. All right, the third other scary thing or thing that can produce a lot of anxiety or just isn't a very fun part of the Chapter 7 bankruptcy process is that your financial life becomes an open book. Kind of related to what I was talking about there with the second one. as far as the tedious nature of all the documents, you have to turn over bank statements. Your attorney's going to go through them. The bankruptcy trustee may look through your bank statements. They're going to look at where you're spending your money. They're going to look at your charges. Your tax returns are going to be provided. All of that information, that we generally keep private is going to be out there for your attorney and the bankruptcy trustee and sometimes creditors to see. Now, one thing that I get a lot is people will tell me, I'm really concerned they're going to look in my bank statements and they're going to see, did this person go out to eat too much? Or, did they buy a birthday present for their kid? Or did they go on a vacation last summer? I can tell you those are not the things that they're typically looking for when they go through bank statements. They're looking for large transactions of cash going in or out and getting an explanation of what happened there. So if it's something where you're worried about, hey, I go to Starbucks every morning and I'm going to worry that the bankruptcy trustee is going to yell at me or my case is going to be denied because of that, don't worry about that. They're not there to make those types of judgments, at least not on the record. I'm talking about trustees. I would never do that. But a bankruptcy trustee, they're not there to make that type of judgment. They're just really looking to see, has there been a transfer of assets that's unexplained that we need to get some additional information about? So that's one that can cause some anxiety, but for the most part, it's not a big deal. It's not public as far as everybody in the world's going to know. It's just going to be within the bankruptcy world as far as your attorney and the bankruptcy trustee will be looking through a lot of your information. The fourth scary thing is that your bankruptcy in limited circumstances could impact other family members. Now, as a bankruptcy attorney, I do my best to try to avoid this situation, but there are certain transactions, particularly if you owe money to a family member or a friend and you pay them back in the 12 months prior to the filing of your bankruptcy, that's called a preference. The bankruptcy trustee, if you do that, can go back to that family member and require them to turn those funds over. So that's one of the first questions we always ask is, have you paid any loans back to any family or friends in the last 12 months? If there is, then we look to say, okay, it's something where you either need to wait until 12 months has gone by, or the alternative is we put together a plan where you can repay those funds to the court so they don't go talk to your family member or friend. Similar to that is if you have transferred assets out of your name to a family member within the last 2 years and you didn't get something back for it. So for example, let's say I have a car and I'm transferring it to my brother and I don't charge him anything. I'm just giving him this car. It's worth $10,000. The bankruptcy trustee can avoid or cancel that transaction, go and get the car back, sell it, and make a distribution to your creditors. This is one of the areas where it's super important to talk to your bankruptcy attorney if there's been transfers or repayment of loans 1 to 2 years prior to the filing. Super important to disclose these. Like I said, I'm an attorney here in Arizona, and that's one of the first things we go over are these transactions and payments. Often we can deal with them. So if you're saying, hey, I did some of those things, it's you didn't do anything inappropriate or illegal or anything like that, but it's definitely something that needs to be known before your bankruptcy case is filed so that we can put together a plan to help you deal with that so that it doesn't become a big issue in your bankruptcy. And then the fifth worst thing about filing for Chapter 7 bankruptcy stays on your credit report for 10 years. It's going to be there. Now, I actually listed this on my other video on the 5 positive things about bankruptcy because even though it's on your credit report for 10 years, most people that file Chapter 7 see a dramatic increase in their credit score in the first 18 to 24 months. And in fact, if you're trying to get like a mortgage loan through VA or FHA, you can get a normal interest rate mortgage loan in like 2 years after your bankruptcy case is filed. Most people can see it in about 3 years if you're going other types of lending. The point is, most people envision if I file for bankruptcy that I'm never going to have credit again. It's absolutely not true. For good or for bad, credit cards and car loans are available almost immediately after your bankruptcy case is filed. You're just going to get better interest rates the further you get away from it. So those are the 5 scary things about bankruptcy, and they're not too scary. We can work through almost all of those issues. Again, I practice law in the state of Arizona. If you're from Arizona, I'm happy to do a free consultation where we can go over all those things, see if there's going to be any scary issues that, and in some situations it is. We shouldn't file for bankruptcy, but it's important to get that information before you make that decision because it can provide a lot of relief in eliminating debt, helping you move on with your life. And sometimes things that clients think are going to be a problem are not going to be a problem at all. Again, my information is below. If I can be of help, appreciate you watching today.